Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the next Vice President and Second Lady of the United States, Senator J.D. Vance and Usha Vance.
Why don't we liberate these United States? We're the ones who need it worst. Let the rest of the world help us for change, and let's rebuild America first. Our highways and bridges are falling apart. Who's blessed and who has been...
Thank you all. Thank you. Wow. Wow. It is so great to be in beautiful Tucson, Arizona. And in 26 days, we're going to turn Arizona red. We're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States, and we're going to do it because of all of you. Now, I will say, normally I try to speak for about a half an hour or so. We're going to shorten it up a little bit because it is hot out here. And then afterwards, I'm going to hang out and say hello to some folks, and we'll try to take some photos. I will say that where we have an air-conditioned tent. Where is it? Where is it? Where? Here? Okay. If you're getting hot and you're not feeling great, we've got an air-conditioned tent. I think it's just back there. So please take care of yourselves. You know, I'm from Ohio. I'm not used to this. Now, when we went to last time we were in Arizona, I believe we were in Scottsdale, and Usha, my beautiful wife, we brought our 3 little kids with us, and it was about 115 degrees in Scottsdale. And then somebody said something to me on the street. They said, "Well, it's okay. It's just a dry heat." And I thought, you must be a Kamala Harris voter, because 115 degrees feels hot, whether it's a dry heat or a moist heat or whatever it is. But look, speaking of Kamala Harris, I don't know if you all saw, she had an amazing for us, amazing for all of us, an incredible interview with The View. Did you all see that? Now, they asked Kamala Harris this amazing question, and you think, step back for a second. Remember, Kamala's entire campaign is running on, she doesn't even know who Joe Biden is, right? She pretends that she is not the sitting vice president of the United States, and her entire campaign is to run as much as she can, as far as she can, from Joe Biden and his disastrous record. So you would think that when she's asked the question, well, what has Joe Biden done that you disagree with, that she might actually have a halfway decent answer. And I know we're going to try to put this up. Can we run that clip now? Because I'd love to put that up and show people what she actually said when she was asked this question.
Well,
go ahead.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Wait for it.
J. Trump, and I approve this message.
It's, I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve that message. That was my idea. Because remember, and especially for those folks who are watching at home on TV or are going to see the clips later, Kamala Harris, she cast the deciding vote on trillions of dollars of new spending, which increased the price of food, of groceries, of housing, and of everything else. Kamala Harris supported the policies that shut down American oil and natural gas, shut down pipelines, and that drove the cost of energy about 45% higher for Arizona families. Kamala Harris came into office as the border czar, bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. She did exactly that, and now Tucson is facing a historic border crisis and a historic increase in crime, in fentanyl, in drug trafficking and sex trafficking. Kamala Harris bears the failures, she bears the responsibilities for the failures of the Joe Biden regime. Don't let her run away from her record. It is Kamala Harris's fault that this country is not doing as well as it should. Now, I want to give a shout out because we have some great people here, including, I think you all heard from Robert O'Brien earlier, the great national security advisor for the Trump administration. Robert, please say hello to folks. Now, Robert is a very, very smart and very accomplished man. He's also a very brave man because he's wearing a suit and a tie out in this Arizona heat. And Robert, the president is going to call me later, and he's going to say, well, if Robert O'Brien can wear a suit and a tie, then you should have worn a tie too. So I don't know what, I'm going to have to think of an excuse before then. But, you know, Robert O'Brien is the architect of the policies that brought world peace during the 4 years of the Trump administration. And of course, the president deserves the most credit and the most responsibility for it, but he had a lot of good people, and at the top of that list was National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. Now think about this, my friends. In just 3.5 years of Kamala Harris's leadership, because she's not listening to people like Robert O'Brien, we've got a new war in Europe, we got a new war in the Middle East, we got conflicts breaking out all over the world, and Kamala Harris has the audacity to say that on day one she's going to work to make the world more peaceful and more secure. Well, Kamala, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing that whole time? Stop talking about fixing these problems and start actually doing something. Now, we attack Kamala Harris and we criticize Kamala Harris for saying that nothing comes to mind when she thinks of anything that's different about her versus Joe Biden. Now, you guys are going to be shocked to hear me defend Kamala Harris. Are you surprised to hear J.D. Vance defending Kamala Harris? In defense of Kamala Harris, I'm not sure, whatever the topic is, that anything really comes to mind when Kamala Harris is asked about it. So maybe it's unfair that I criticize her, but we have to remember that her entire campaign, my friends, her entire campaign is pretending that she is going to change the direction of the country. The inflation, the high price of groceries, the high price of gasoline, the high price of housing, the wide open southern border, it's not because of any person except for Kamala Harris. So the idea that she is going to change and fix the problems that she helped create, if she'd like, and Kamala, I mean this sincerely if you're watching, if you want a secure southern border, if you want to lower the prices of groceries, if you want to lower the price of housing in this country, you're welcome to vote for Donald J. Trump for president, because he's the person who's actually going to fix those problems. Now, we have to talk, of course, about the border crisis, because the wide open southern border has affected Tucson maybe more than any other community in our country. And I was just asked by a journalist, he seemed like a very good guy, an actual honest journalist who asks questions and then let you answer the questions, about how Latinos should think about what's happened to this country over the last 3.5 years. And I happen to think that Latinos in particular ought to be pissed off about Kamala Harris's wide open southern border. And I know we've got a lot of Latinos just in this crowd who are supporting Donald Trump, but think about what an insult it is to Latinos who came to this country, whose parents or grandparents came to this country, who waited in line, who paid the fees, who worked hard, who did it the right way. It is an insult to them to have Kamala Harris welcome people who break our laws. We got to get people who broke our laws out of this country and make America work for American citizens again. And I mean, whether you're an American citizen for 10 minutes or you've been an American citizen, your family's been in this country for 10 generations, this country ought by rights work for the American people and the American people first. We can have compassion for people. We can send people when a hurricane happens or a disaster happens outside of this country, by all means, we ought to be compassionate. But you know who our leaders owe compassion to most? And above all, is American citizens. We ought to focus on our own people and put their interests first. That's what the American leadership exists for. And I think we've seen it with these terrible storms, and if you're a praying person, I imagine you are, a lot of you are praying people, we ought to say a prayer for the state of Florida, because what's going to hit that state could be very bad. So let's all pray that it's not as bad as the forecasters are saying it might be. But whatever happens in Florida, and we've seen the terrible devastation in Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and other states, why do we have such an incompetent administration? Disaster relief ought to go to prepare and to respond to a disaster when it strikes American territory. Our government has got to focus on our citizens. put their interests first, take care of American citizens when a disaster hits. And unfortunately, under Kamala Harris's leadership, you've got FEMA, which is doing resettlement and relocation for illegal immigration. FEMA should take care of American citizens when a disaster strikes. That's all it should be doing. And when Donald Trump and I are back in office, that's all it's going to do. Think about the toll of illegal immigration. I think a lot of folks at home, we got to talk about, it's not just the crime, it's not just the fentanyl, it's American children who have had their schools overrun with thousands and thousands of people who don't even speak English. If you're an American citizen and you've gone to an emergency room, it's awfully loud. I think that fighter pilot couldn't say it, but I think he's going to vote for Donald J. Trump for president. That's why he gave us a nice little flyover. We got another one coming. Do we love the military in the state of Arizona? So here's, while we're on the topic of the military, here's what we're going to do to the United States military. We're going to end the recruitment crisis by making the American people proud again of their country. No more woke crap in the U.S. military. The American military exists to fight for American citizens. But my friends, we could do so much better in the state of Arizona and all across the country. How many of y'all have gone to an emergency room in just the last couple of years? I see a lot of hands up here. You know that emergency room wait times have skyrocketed because Kamala Harris has let in millions of people who are using the emergency rooms and getting put in front of the line of American citizens. You know, and getting it free. Well, not getting it free, ma'am, getting it at your expense because it's paid for by you. You know, Kamala Harris wants to give Medicare and free health care to illegal aliens. Kamala Harris wants to give Social Security, which would bankrupt that program for our seniors, to illegal aliens. Kamala Harris wants to give free housing and free schooling to illegal aliens. And you know what our message is, and you know what President Trump's message to illegal aliens who are in this country without any right to be here? Pack your bags, because in 4 months you're going home. Now, the thing that Democrats always say is that their illegal immigration policies are compassionate. They're not compassionate for the American citizens who have had their communities flooded with fentanyl. They're not compassionate to people like Lake and Riley who were killed by illegal aliens that Kamala Harris let into this country. It's not compassionate to American kids who deserve to get a good education and not have their schools flooded with illegal aliens. And it's not compassionate to the 320,000 children who have gone missing thanks to Kamala Harris's wide open border. So our message to Kamala Harris is, why don't you show some compassion for your own citizens and for your own people? Close down this border. That is the way to show compassion for the American people, and that's what Donald Trump and I are going to do. And when we close down that border, we're going to make life more affordable for American citizens. The media doesn't like to talk about this, and Kamala Harris likes to run from it. But you know one of the biggest drivers of housing costs in the United States of America? Think about this. When you let in 25 million illegal aliens and you give them homes at taxpayer expense that ought by right go to American citizens, you make the American dream of home ownership unaffordable for the American people. And that is what she has done. She has forced American citizens to compete with people who shouldn't even be here for the American dream of home ownership. Donald Trump and I, we have a simple plan: American homes for American citizens, and we're going to fight for that every single day. And the way that we're going to make, it's funny. The press will ask this question of Kamala Harris. They'll say, well, since you caused the inflation, your policies caused this inflation, give us the specific plan for what you're going to do to make life more affordable for American citizens. And she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Or, you know, back when I worked at McDonald's, I used to make the hash browns, and I was very good at it. And you realize this person does not have a plan to solve the very affordability crisis that she caused. You know what? We do have a plan. And you know what our plan is? Drill, baby, drill. Unleash American energy. The biggest driver of costs in this country is that Kamala Harris waged war on American energy. So rather than buy oil and natural gas from tin-pot dictators all over the world, why don't we start buying more of it from American territory and American workers and create a lot of great American prosperity in the process? So we've got the plan, my friends. We've got the candidate. We've got Kamala Harris now admitting that she is not the candidate of change. She is the candidate of more of the same. The only thing that we have got to do over the next 27 days is get out there and vote. Make sure every single person you know makes it to the polls unless they're voting for Kamala Harris. That's okay. They can vote too. We want everybody to vote because if every legal ballot is cast, then we are going to win this election and make Donald Trump the next president. Now look, you know me, you know my feelings on this. I don't like election season. I like election day, but we are where we are, my friends. We've got election season, and if the Democrats are taking advantage of it, we have got to do the exact same thing. So whether you're voting on election day or voting by mail or voting early, get out there and make your voice heard. And it's important. I'd encourage you to vote early if you're able to, because, you know, I talked to a lot of people who plan to vote for Donald Trump in 2020, and 95 of them, 95 out of 100, they actually went out and voted for Donald Trump. But, you know, you talk to the 5 who didn't vote for Donald Trump, and it's not because they changed their mind. It's because, you know, their kid got sick, so they had to go pick him up from school, or they worked late that night and they weren't able to make it to the polls before they closed. The best way to make sure your voice is counted is to make sure it's counted early. And so we've got the great chairman, Michael Whatley of the RNC here. Mike. Well, you got a great Republican chair, Gina Swabda. Gina. Now you can tell who's from Arizona and who's not. Michael lost the jacket. Gina did not. She's tougher than me and Michael. But look, all of them will tell you, these great leaders will tell you, we have got to get out there and take advantage. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. That's a website. I want everybody to remember it. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. Check your registration. Check your polling location. Check how to get out there and vote. Because we're never going to have the Democrats or their allies in the corporate media telling the truth about this campaign, but we do have the power of every single individual in this audience. We've got the power of the people, and that people power is going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States, and I'm certain of it. So I'd ask everybody, if you want to pay higher taxes, vote for Kamala Harris. If you want lower taxes, vote for Donald J. Trump. If you want to keep on with the open border and the flood of fentanyl, you know to vote for Kamala Harris. If you want to close down that border and deport illegal aliens, vote for Donald J. Trump. If you want to ship American manufacturing jobs off to China, you know who to vote for. But if you want to keep American jobs for American workers, vote for Donald J. Trump. If you believe we've got the greatest country in the history of the world, we just need better leadership, then vote for Donald J. Trump. And if you want change, if you want to change this government and make it more responsive to the American people, vote for Donald J. Trump. If you want to get smart people like Robert O'Brien in there to fix the world chaos and to bring peace back to the world, we know we're going to vote for Donald J. Trump. And I think this is ultimately what it boils down to, my friends. If you want a government that puts the interests of American citizens first, the only person to vote for is Donald J. Trump. So I'm going to ask you, over the next 27 days, my friends, get out there and vote 10 times. Now, some of you laughed, but some of you feel a little uncomfortable. We're Republicans. We only vote once. Here's how to vote 10 times the legal way. take yourself and get 9 of your friends and family. Get them to the polls. Make sure you do it. Arizona, 11,000 votes. That was the margin last time. And set to the side all the problems, 11,000 votes. If every single person in this room, in this audience, I guess we're outside, we're not in a room, every single person in this audience gets 10 of their friends and family to vote, that could be the difference between Donald Trump becoming the President of the United States and Kamala Harris. Can you imagine? Kamala Harris. So if you, like me, do not want to wake up to the nightmare of President Word Salad, then do everything you can over these 27 days to make sure the American people get the kind of president they deserve. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to hang out and shake some hands and take some photos. But here's what we're going to do. I want you all to post the photo. Post that you were at this rally. Get it out there on social media that you love this country and you are doing everything you can to make Donald Trump the next president. God bless you guys. God bless Arizona. Thank you for having me.